As I understand it, 92% of all sales outside the USA are billed in Ireland. Is that right?
I'm not sure it's 92%, but the vast majority of sales outside the US will be billed in Google in Ireland, that's correct.
Why?
Well, I mean, first, let me say, we pay the tax we're required to pay in every country in which we operate, including the UK.
It depends where you choose to put the business, doesn't it? Depends where you choose to put the business. So, this is what all this afternoon is about. It depends where you choose to put the business.
So perhaps, given that we're not talking here about a business that makes money from its consumers, but that makes money from business-to-business advertising, if I can just very quickly talk about how Google is set up.
I think
well, let me try to answer
that to avoid the questions. Actually,
no, certainly not.
It seems to me that we have Google UK, who acts as an agent to Google Ireland Limited. If you look at my little picture,
I can't really see your drawing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it's about that. Let me just. Google UK acts as an agent for Google Ireland Limited, where tax in Ireland is 12.5% corporation tax.
So when Google became popular outside the US,
is that right? Am I correct?
I'll try and answer your first question first. So when Google became popular outside the US, we set up in Ireland to serve the whole of the European Union under a single European market. And we chose Ireland for a range of reasons. One being it has a competitive rate of corporation tax. We pay 12.5% there. Other reasons including the presence of a skilled labour force in technology, so Microsoft and Oracle and others were there. And also the property and other costs for our staff are lower than they are in, for example, central London. So Ireland is the base of our operations for Europe. It has data centres, and we've invested tens of millions of euros in space and equipment and people in Ireland. And everybody who buys advertising from Google, because that's how we make our money, buys advertising from Google in Ireland. Just in the same way as any company can set up to trade within Europe.
My understanding is that, I understand that, and thank you for that clear answer. Google Ireland Limited, though, pays a fee to this Google Netherlands Holding BV.
Yeah, so shall I talk about Google UK, which was your second question, and then I can come on to the rest of it. So in the UK, Google has a business, Google Limited. It had a revenue last year of £396 million, and we paid corporation tax of £6 million on that business. It made an accounting profit of £31 million. So we pay corporation tax in the UK, and over the last 3 years that business has grown significantly as we're a relatively young business as we've grown. So what the people in the UK do is provide services that are charged to Google Ireland, and those services are principally around promoting our products, making sure that they work in the UK for UK consumers. And what's different about Google versus the other businesses you've been talking about, we're not selling books and we're not making coffee.
Selling advertising.
Well, the services we provide to consumers are based on the computer science which drives search and all of other technology like Google Maps and so on. And that's all done in California. Very clearly innovations that have never been seen before in the world in terms of computer science that allows you to search the internet.
UK adverts are UK-specific search engine, aren't they?
So yeah, in terms of, if you're a consumer, if I can explain briefly how the thing works. If you're a consumer in the UK, imagine you're a mother in Merseyside looking for a birthday present for a daughter. You search for cool bags on Google UK site. It's a UK site in that the content you see is more focused on the UK than it would be if you were searching on the global site. Right? So you might find an advertisement in there, one of the blue links that says ads from the Cambridge Satchel Company, and that will be one of our customers, and that customer would only pay if you were to click on the link and go through to the site that is trying to sell you a satchel in this case. And what that allows people to do on the business side is to target people who are searching on google.co.uk or Google France or Google US or any other geography against particular words. And the advertiser only pays when a consumer clicks on what they've chosen to do. So one of the reasons for operating out in Ireland is many of our customers in the UK want to reach consumers all around the world, and in Ireland we have over 3,000 people speaking 50 different languages helping businesses in Europe connect with consumers in Europe and across the world, and that's why we're organised in that way.
But the ad you will see, I think it's a very important point, because it's back to trying to see the economic activity in the UK. The ad that you see in the UK is different. I mean, if I can presume, I think, well, let's ask this question first. Is different from the ad you'd see in the Netherlands?
If you were the Cambridge Cat Satchel Company sort of selling satchels, and you'd chosen to target somebody typing satchels in the Netherlands, you would see an ad for that satchels in the Netherlands.
But you sell UK-specific advertising space, which will be seen by all of us.
Yeah, it's possible for any company anywhere in the world to advertise to a UK user of Google.
But you sell, and so you have people in the UK selling your advertising space, do you?
We have anybody who buys advertising from us in Europe buys from Google in Ireland, from our expert team.
No, where are they based? They go door to door, knocking, finding, presumably there's a marketing sales team that go around trying to sell the advertising. Where are they based? In Ireland?
It's an internet-based business, so most of our customers transact online or through the telephone with experts in Ireland. We do have people in the UK. We have for the accounting year I mentioned, the last year which we filed, we had 1,300 people in the UK, and it's now up to about 1,500
advertising space
people
in the UK.
And what they do is they do a range of things promoting our products. Some of them do work with businesses because businesses want to be educated by Google about the internet and its opportunities. Businesses can use a range of things from Google, including free tools. Google Analytics is one that helps you understand how your website works. If they want to buy advertising from us, and they're encouraged to do so by our people in the UK, they'll buy it from our expert team in Dublin.
Can you answer this rather? So, out of your 1,200 people you said you had in the UK?
There's 1,300 last year.
How many are sales? How much of that is Salesforce marketing?
Nobody's selling; they're all promoting the products, but they're definitely encouraging people to spend money on Google. Nobody's buying from them.
Who's selling into the UK market? Who is selling? Who's doing the selling? Who's trying to encourage people to advertise on your search?
There are people. Yeah, absolutely. There are people in the UK who
doing that.
How many? Of the 1,300 last year, I think about 700 were what we would call kind of marketing and digital consultancy people, and some of those, only some of those would be.
And how many are selling from Ireland into the UK?
We've got 3,000 people in Ireland. They do.
How many are selling from Ireland into the UK?
Into the UK, there would be a couple of hundred.
So 700 in the UK, a couple of hundred in Ireland.
But, Madam Chairman, the 700 in the UK include people who do things like make all the consumer products work, so maps and everything else, which has to work in the UK market. So it's a mixture.
So there is economic activity in the UK.
The bigger thing here is that all the technology which creates the economic value, all of the innovation which powers Google search comes out of California.
This is your loyalty stuff. I will come to that.
No, it's not loyalty.
I'm trying to get where the economic activity is.
Yeah, I was just trying to explain
that. You very helpfully told us there's about 700 people who sort of sell into the UK, marketing people, as compared to 200 in Ireland. What I then don't understand is the Irish guys pay a fee to Google Netherlands Holding BV. Is that to save withholding tax?
There was an arrangement in place to do that. I understand it's no longer necessary.
So, but was it set in place to save withholding tax?
That's my understanding.
It was. Thank you. That's a very direct answer. That's the first one we've had today. Thank you. But it's no longer necessary. It therefore goes to Google Holdings Ireland, which is registered in Ireland but administered from Bermuda.
That's correct.
So, if that happens, your profits actually go to Bermuda. How much is sitting in Bermuda?
I don't know the number. It's true that Bermuda is a part of our operations, and the reason for that is, as an international company, when you set up operations outside your domestic market, which in our case is the US, you look for where to locate your operations. And as I explained, we chose to, within the European Union, we chose to locate in Ireland for the reasons I've explained. But also, you need to protect your intellectual property and set up operations in countries around the world in order to do that. And we have an operation, or an entity set up in Bermuda to do that.
But what I appreciate is that you have actually openly told us that you've chosen both Ireland and then Bermuda because they are both
yeah, and I think that's right. As a multinational, exactly,
if not no tax. But
as a multinational company, you have a duty.
I've got to come back to what really gets the UK ordinary punter out there who uses Google day in, day out, is that they contribute towards your business. There's economic activity because I use Google, all of us around the table use Google. They contribute to your profits, and they see no proper, fair contribution from you to corporation tax, and that's that's the thing that bugs us all.
I understand, but I think it's a misunderstanding of the concern in that we pay corporation tax here on the activity. But may I try to sort of answer? We pay corporation tax here on the activity our people here do. But if you think about Google, it is technology. 17,000 engineers in California build and continue to invest in developing the technology. That is what creates the economic value for Google.
What does Bermuda create?
Let me explain. What creates the economic value for Google is the technology and the computer science. Hopefully people understand that, because it's pretty magical to be able to search the entire web in seconds and get answers fast, and that's what we continue to invest in.
So what does Bermuda create?
So let me just explain. So that's how we create the economic value, and tax law suggests that you need to pay tax where the economic value is created. We believe that's there. In the case of the UK, the economic activity that happens in the UK, which is about helping people to understand how to use the internet and products and services, we've looked at how best to establish what we should pay for the services that are provided by people in the UK. The way we come to a conclusion on that is we look at, if we went outside and hired other firms to do those kind of things, what would we pay there? And that's how we've set up the cost structure.
What does Bermuda create?
In Bermuda, we have an entity that holds the rights to our intellectual property, and you can tell it's a very intellectual property.
But I thought you just told us the intellectual property is all in California.
I was trying to finish the sentence, which is the intellectual property rights for outside of the US for the license.
But they're not doing the R&D, it's all in California.
That's right, but we, like any company, we're required to do two things. One, to play by the rules, and when you set up internationally, you need to make decisions about how to protect your intellectual property and how to organise. And secondly, to manage our costs efficiently in order to satisfy our shareholders. And our goal as a company is
to... So you're minimising your tax, even though it's unfair to British taxpayers?
It's not unfair to British taxpayers. We pay all the tax you require us to pay in the UK. We paid £6 million of tax last year.
We're not accusing you of being illegal, we're accusing you of being immoral.
I think it's not a matter of personal choice.
In terms of your US filings, do you check what's referred to as check the box?
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of that.
In terms of your US filings, do you, in what tax accountants refer to as check the box?
I'm afraid I'm not a tax accountant. My job is to run the business in Europe.
But it goes to the heart of how passive income is dealt with, doesn't it? Because
I'm not
the
familiar
Bermuda
with the
operation is dealing with your intellectual property rights outside the US. Mm-hmm. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's, as you also said, this is a US company.
Google Incorporated is a US company, that's correct.
And there are, and like you, I am not far from it, an expert in tax affairs, but as I understand it, there are rules in the US in terms of the treatment of income earned by a US group outside the US, are there not?
I'm sure there are. I'm not an expert. I focus on the UK and Europe.
Well, it rather goes, again, a bit like with Mr. Cecil, to the heart of the issue, because what we have is, if I'm understanding correctly, a choice of location in Ireland, because that's got a low corporation rate, and there's a debate which the chair's been alluding as to what extent the business has been done in Ireland and to what extent it's been done in the UK. But there's then the more interesting question, which is what happens to the money from Ireland. Mm-hmm. And as I understand it, that's going to Bermuda. And the question in my mind is, why is that not being captured from a US tax perspective? And the phrase that was suggested to me is there's a way in terms of US filings that one can get around this, which is referred to as check the box, hence my question.
As I say, I'm not familiar with the phrase that you mentioned. What I can assure the committee is the tax that we pay in the UK and how we operate in Europe has nothing to do with those arrangements outside. The tax we pay in the UK is a function of the activity that people do in the UK, and that is in line with UK law, and the way we operate around the world is in line with the law in every jurisdiction.
No one's suggesting you don't operate in there. I mean, the CNAG has expertise in this, so he may want to come in. Amos, sorry.